In February of 1959, 9 experienced hikers vanished into the unforgiving Ural Mountains, leaving behind a trail of puzzling clues. An abandoned tent slashed open from the inside, belongings scattered across the snow, bodies discovered in bizarre and chilling conditions. What happened to the Dyatlov group? Was it a freak avalanche, a wild animal attack, or something far darker? The expedition begins. The journey began with Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student leading a group of 10 skilled hikers on a challenging trek through the Ural Mountains. Their goal, to reach the peak of Otorten Mountain, a daunting challenge for even the most seasoned explorers. The group consisted of 8 men and 2 women, all experienced mountaineers. They had faced the most brutal conditions before and were well prepared for this journey. Men: Igor Dyatlov, Yuri Doroshenko, Alexander Kolevatov, Rustem Slobodin, Yuri Krivonishenko, Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, Semyon Zolotaryov, and Yuri Yudin. Women: Lyudmila Dubinina and Zinaida Kolmogorova. Yuri Yudin, who would later survive, had been a close companion to the group. But on January 27th, Yuri fell ill with severe joint pain and was forced to turn back. The others pressed on, unaware that Yudin's misfortune would be the only thing that saved him from becoming part of one of the most chilling mysteries in modern history. The fateful night. On that fateful night, the group set up camp on the slopes of Kolatsiakol, known as Dead Mountain in the Mansi language, a place whose name would foreshadow the tragedy that awaited them. The weather was brutal, with freezing temperatures dropping to minus 25 degrees Celsius, minus 13 degrees Fahrenheit, and the winds made the air feel even colder. They were far from civilization, isolated on a mountain that had earned its grim reputation. By 8 p.m., the hikers had settled in, preparing for another grueling day ahead. But as the hours passed, something strange happened. The calm of the evening turned into something far more terrifying. Without warning, the group fled into the snow, leaving behind their supplies, their shoes, and any protection from the harsh cold. No one knew what caused this flight into the unknown. Was it fear? Was it something that they couldn't explain? Something so terrifying it prompted them to leave the safety of their shelter? The hikers' sudden disappearance raised immediate concern, and the search for them began. It wasn't until February 20th, 1959, almost 3 weeks later, that the search party finally discovered the group's abandoned tent. The sight was bizarre. The tent had been cut open from the inside, the hikers' belongings strewn haphazardly around. The search party followed footprints in the snow, but these were not the footprints of calm, collected hikers. They were frantic, erratic. Some footprints were left by people wearing only socks, others by bare feet. The party followed these tracks for miles, each step seeming to reveal a deeper mystery. The path led them to a grove of trees where the bodies were discovered. The discovery of the bodies. One by one, the bodies of the hikers were uncovered. The first bodies were found near a tree, where they appeared to have been attempting to start a fire. The searchers found strange clues: cut branches from nearby trees, possibly from a desperate attempt to gather wood, but there was no warmth, no fire, just the eerie silence of the mountain. As the bodies were uncovered, it became clear that something far more sinister had happened. Some had succumbed to hypothermia, but others had wounds that didn't fit the usual profile of freezing to death. Several of the hikers had suffered massive internal injuries, fractured skulls, broken ribs, yet there were no external wounds, no cuts, no bruises, just deep and unexplained damage. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryov were found missing their eyes, and in Dubinina's case, her tongue was also gone. There were no signs of animal activity around the bodies, no tracks, no scavengers. And as if this wasn't strange enough, investigators found traces of radiation on some of the hikers' clothing. The radiation levels were not typical for everyday exposure, raising even more questions. Was it a consequence of a secret experiment, or was there something else at play? Theories behind the tragedy. Avalanche theory. In the aftermath of the discovery, several theories began to surface. One of the first theories was that an avalanche had caused the hikers to panic, fleeing their tent in a desperate rush. At first glance, the idea seemed plausible. Avalanches were not uncommon in the region, and the group's camp was situated in an area prone to avalanches. But closer examination revealed problems with this theory. There was no avalanche debris found at the site. no displaced snow, no signs of destruction that would be expected in the wake of an avalanche. And despite the fact that the tent had been slashed open, it was still partially standing, something highly unusual for an avalanche. Military experiment or cover-up? Another theory suggested that the hikers had stumbled upon something much more sinister, a secret Soviet military experiment, possibly involving weapons testing. Some of the injuries sustained by the hikers resembled those caused by shockwaves, while the radiation on their clothing raised suspicions of exposure to unknown military technology. Could the hikers have accidentally witnessed something they weren't supposed to see? Was their death part of a government cover-up? The Soviet authorities quickly closed the case, fueling the theory that the truth was being suppressed. The eerie silence of the government only deepened suspicions. Were the hikers silenced to protect a military secret? Did they die at the hands of those they weren't meant to see? Supernatural and paranormal theories. And then there were the paranormal theories. From Yeti sightings to UFOs, the Dyatlov Pass mystery has become a breeding ground for speculative explanations. Some claim the injuries were inflicted by a beast, an ancient creature, a Yeti, stalking the group. Massive footprints were found nearby, too large to belong to any known animal. Could it be that the hikers met their end at the hands or claws of a predator from legend? Others speak of strange lights in the sky, bright enough to leave the sky tinged with an eerie glow. Were they UFOs or something else? Something far more terrifying. The hikers may have seen something they weren't meant to, but what if it saw them back? The 2019 investigation. For decades, the Dyatlov Pass mystery remained unsolved, but in 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case. New technology, new evidence, and new theories brought the investigation back into the spotlight. After re-examining the evidence, they concluded that a slab avalanche was the most likely cause of the tragedy. This type of avalanche, a delayed release of snow, could have trapped the hikers, causing them to panic and flee their tent in the dead of night. But not everyone agreed with the conclusion. Critics argue that the injuries sustained by the hikers don't align with an avalanche. The broken bones, the missing eyes, the radiation, none of it fits perfectly with the avalanche theory. The truth remains elusive. Did the new investigation reveal the truth, or was it another attempt to cover up something far more sinister? Yuri Yudin's survival. For Yuri Yudin, the only survivor, the mystery remained personal. He spent the rest of his life haunted by questions. What really happened to his friends that night? Did they die in a natural disaster, or was someone or something responsible? Until his passing in 2013, Yudin never stopped searching for answers. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most haunting mysteries in history. Was it a natural disaster, a government cover-up, or something far darker, something that still lingers in the shadows of the Ural mountains? The truth may never be known, but the echoes of that night continue to stir.